In the shadow of the mountain, where the sun scarcely touched, lay the Whispering Woods, a place shrouded in tales so dark that even the bravest souls hesitated to speak of it. The forest was infamous, not for the creatures that roamed its depths or the thickets that ensnared unwary travelers, but for the voices that haunted its air, voices that whispered secrets meant to fracture the mind. Julia and Mark, avid explorers of the unexplained, found themselves drawn to the legends of these woods. Their fascination with the paranormal had led them through many haunts, but none as foreboding as the forest that lay before them. Armed with only their recording equipment and a naive courage, they stepped into the dense underbrush, the canopy closing above them like the pages of a book sealing its secrets within. At first, the forest seemed to welcome them, the only sounds being their footsteps and the occasional rustle of wildlife fleeing their approach. However, as they ventured deeper, the ambiance began to shift. The air grew thicker, and a silence descended, so profound it seemed to absorb even the sound of their breathing. Then, the whispers started. Soft and insidious, they seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The words were indecipherable at first, like the wind speaking in tongues. Julia and Mark pressed on, determined to uncover the source of these whispers, recording every moment in hopes of capturing proof of the supernatural. As the day wore on, the whispers grew more insistent, more coherent. They began to articulate fears that Julia and Mark had never voiced aloud, secrets buried deep in their hearts. The forest, it seemed, did not just whisper, but spoke in the voices of those they had lost, those they had wronged, and those they feared they might become. With each step, their resolve waned, replaced by a growing dread. Mark started seeing shadows flit between the trees, figures that vanished when he tried to focus on them. Julia heard laughter, her own, echoing back at her from the depths of the forest, mocking her attempts to remain rational. The realization hit them too late. The Whispering Woods did not merely haunt, it fed. It fed on the fears, the guilt, and the sanity of those who dared to walk its paths. The forest was alive, not with spirits of the dead, but with an ancient consciousness that sought to unravel the minds of the living. Night fell, and with it, any hope of escaping the psychological labyrinth they had wandered into. The whispers crescendoed into a chorus of accusations and regrets, each word a thread pulling at the fabric of their sanity. In the end, it was the silence that found them. A silence so complete, it signified their complete surrender to the forest. When they were found days later, wandering aimlessly among the trees, their equipment lay discarded, the recordings filled with nothing but the sound of their own voices, whispering secrets into the void. The Whispering Woods claimed no bodies that day, but the minds of Julia and Mark were forever lost, ensnared in an endless cycle of whispers that only they could hear. And so, the forest grew a little larger, a little denser, fed by the tales of those who barely escaped and the silence of those who did not.